Okay, in your spiral, you're going to, number 15 should be X and Y intercept. X and Y intercept. Okay, tell me what the x-intercept means to you. What does that mean? X-intercept. Richard? Yes, where it goes through the x, where the point where the graph crosses the x-axis. X-intercept happens when the blank is blank. When the y coordinate, and hey, there's not much room, just put y, C-O-O-R, is what? Very good. When it crosses the x-axis, guys, when it crosses the x-axis, then y is going to be 0. We're going to do some in just a minute. To find the x-intercept from an equation, replace the y or f of x, however it's written, with what? What would we replace y or the f of x with? With what? What number? 0. And then you're going to solve for x. Okay, that's one way to get the x-intercept. I'm going to show you another way. You're really going to like this other way. I promise you. Okay, so it's the x-intercept is where the the point crosses the x-axis. So y is going to be 0. So an example would be, let's put an example up here. Put ex dot dot. Let's do 3, 0. So 3, 0 would be the point where that crosses the x-axis. It crosses at point 3. Sometimes if they just ask for the x-intercept, they might just want one number. They just want you to say 3 and not 3, 0. Yes, it's a different color. They're all different. I mean, some are green, some are purple. But I hope you wrote on x-intercept. Okay. Yeah. Okay, now we're going to do the y-intercept. Does everybody have that? So, on the y-intercept, the point where the graph crosses the y-axis. Y-intercepts happen when the x-coordinate is 0. To find the y-intercept from an equation, replace x with 0 and solve for y. So an example of a y-intercept would be 0, what? 2. Well, I heard 2 first, okay? Believe it or not, this seems pretty easy, but it's tricky sometimes when you're when you're doing both. Okay? Everybody get that? Okay. Just a minute, and I'm going to... Okay, so let's review on what standard form is. Who knows what A cannot be? Can't be negative. So A has to be greater than or equal to 0. A and B, and we're just going to kind of use symbols. A and B cannot equal 0 at the same time. One can be 0, and the other one can be 0, but not at the same time. But A has to be positive, always. And then what do we know about A, B, and C? They can't be what? Decimals or fractions. So A, B, and C, let's put equal integers. Good. Okay. So we are going to find the first method. Let's say we want to graph this. Okay? If we want to graph this, guys, on this calculator, in which you're going to want to, what form do we have to put it in? What do we have to hit every time we've graphed? Y equals. So we're trying to turn this standard form equation into slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. That's what we're trying to do. So the first method is to convert to y equals mx plus b. M is the what? We learned that on our other foldable. M is the slope, B is the y-intercept. Do we need to write it again? Okay, so M is the slope, and then that's the y-intercept. So if you know the slope and the y-intercept, you can set it up in this form and you can graph it. And that would give you the x-intercept because it's graphed. Does that make sense? And in fact, let's do one. Everybody go to, let's clear it. So second plus 712, enter. Go to y equals. Okay, we clear. That should have been open. Okay, so your thing should look just like that. Y1 equals. Okay, let's start easy. Let's do x plus 6. Okay. Now, here's what I'm going to show you. X plus 6. We can graph it. Everybody go hit graph. And we can hit trace. We can hit trace. It pops up, mine does, it showed yours, 0, 6. 0, 6 is the what? Y-intercept. That's where it's crossing the y-axis. This is so important, guys. Now, if I want the x-intercept, I'm going to move my arrow down. Oh, what's wrong? What's wrong? I'm seeing a bunch of crazy decimals, aren't you? So how can we get it off of that? Who remembers? Zoom, 8, enter. Now hit trace again. And probably going to have to go, there you go, go one more time. So negative 6, 0 is our x-intercept. Negative 6, 0. And you can say negative 6, 0, or you can just say negative 6. That's our x-intercept. So everybody get that? Okay. Now I'm going to show you something else. Hit second, and then the graph. We're going to the table. It automatically shows you 0, 6. 0, 6. So that's your what? Y-intercept. If you go down, scroll up, excuse me, then you see negative 6, 0. That's your x-intercept. Does that make sense? Okay. So you can use the table. You don't have to go to the graph to find it. You can go straight to your table and find them. Now, there is going to be a problem sometimes, and we'll get into that when you can't find it on the table. And the graph, you can't find it on the graph. We're going to use what we just said, putting x in for 0 or y in for 0, and you can do it that way. That's an option. But most of the time, you're going to be able to use the graph or the table. But we're going to see about that. Okay, so if let's say I'm trying to put it in this form right here, the slope-intercept form. Does everybody see why it's called slope-intercept? It's got the slope and the y-intercept. That's the slope-intercept form. That's one of the forms that's on your formula chart. So what would I do if I'm solving for y? What would I have to do to this standard form equation? Move ax where? To the other side. Well, if it's in standard form, you're going to move ax. That's going to be positive. You're going to subtract, aren't you? If it's in true standard form. Now, the problem is it might not be exactly in standard form. They may not have fixed it. Just a minute, I'll move it up. So you're going to move your ax to the other side by subtracting. And I'm going to put or adding in parentheses. That's if it's not in true form. They haven't gotten rid of the negative sign. Okay, that's step 1. So step 2 is what? What would step 2 be? You got your ax on the other side. What would you've got ax, I'm moving the ax over there. What's wrong? You got to get rid of that b, huh? So you're going to divide everything by b. Okay. Step 3. So we have it in the y-intercept form. This is where we're going to have to learn how to graph, and we're going to work on that. What you're going to do is you're going to graph the y-intercept. I'm just going to abbreviate intercept. You're going to graph the y-intercept. Then you're going to use the slope to find another point. That's what we're going to work on. So you're going to graph the y-intercept, then use the slope to find another point. Okay. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to find the X and Y intercepts. And graph. Just find what they are and graph. Okay. Now, how did we just say we're going to find the x-intercept? How can we find, if we don't have the table or the graph to look at, what did I say we could do? What's our last option? Plug in what? Plug in 0 for y. This is to find the x. And solve for x. This is going to be your last resort. Plug in 0 for y and solve for x. To find the y, you're going to plug in 0 for x and solve for y. And then you just graph the intercepts and connect your dots. That's how you're going to have to graph. Okay. So let's come over here and let's do 2 examples. Okay, we have this. Now, method 1, we're going to convert to the slope-intercept form. So, I'm going to do what? Move my, hey, is this in true standard form? It's all integers. A and B are not both 0. A is positive. We're good. And there, you can't reduce by anything. Okay, so we're going to move 3x over, aren't we? So we're going to get 5y equals help me. Negative 3x plus 15. So we're going to subtract 3x from both sides. And then I'm going to divide everything by 5. So everything, every term. So that's going to be y equals what? Help me. Negative 3/5 x plus 3. Guys, don't turn it into a decimal. Don't turn it into a decimal. Leave it just as is. You'll see why in just a second. No. Yeah. Thank you. I left it in here. Leave it as a fraction. 3 divided by 5 gives you a decimal, 0.6, so we don't want that. So just bring that down, negative 3/5. I don't know why this is hard for a lot of people. They don't know what to do with that right there. Hey, just bring it down. And 15 divided by 5 is 3. Okay, now we're going to go graph it. We could go get our calculator and get some points off of the calculator, but it's really easy. Okay, what is 3? What is 3? Our y-intercept. So we're going to go one of the points. See, guys, we're hunting 2 points so we can connect and make a line. So one of the points I know is 0, 3, isn't it? Because that's your y-intercept. Then You're going to tell me how to get to another point. Somebody's going to think of it. You're going to use your slope. You're going to use your slope is rise over run, aren't you? Okay? So you're going to go from that point. You're going to go from this point right here, 0, 3, and you're going to do what it says. I'm going to write it so I won't have to bring it down. That's the slope. Well, that's the slope right there. Rise over run. Now, you can make the 3 negative or the 5 negative. It doesn't matter. One of them is going to be negative. Only one. So you're going to go from that point. I usually put the negative sign on top. That's just how I write it. That's how I've always written it. It can go out front. It can be on the bottom. But this is a little bit easier if you do this. So we're going to go 5 over. And this graph is counting by ones. The scale is 1. So we're going to go over 5. Over 5. Now what? Down 3. So 1, 2, 3. We have 2 points. Hey, 3 is good, but 2 is okay. And let's practice that just one more time and make one more point. We could go over 5, down 3. Now, here's 2 ways you can check yourself. It's got to be negative. So if you're, this is where people mess up. It's got to be negative slope, so the line has to be going down. I already know that when I start to graph. I already know. Hey, my line's got to go down. It's negative. It's got to go down. Can't go up. Got to go down. That's what I'm telling myself in my head. Got to go down. Got to go down. But you run and then, all right? And then you can go back after you draw your line or just go back and check and go from this point. Look, you can go from this point and go, okay, I'm going to go left 5, up 3. And we're going to draw our line. Oh. Okay, now, guys, let's look at something. After you get it drawn, I want you to look at something. From the 0, 3. Hey, 0, 3. Let's say that you didn't have room to do another one. Could you go negative 5? Because you run negative 5 and then up 3? Yes. So the negative sign, if it's negative, can be on one or the other. One or the other. Okay. We good? Okay. Now let's look at the method 2. This is the way we're not going to be doing very often. Remember what I told you? I'm going to let you do the easiest way possible. So, right here, all we're going to do, they didn't leave us much room, so come over here and rewrite it. In fact, let's make a H chart. Oops. It's a little bit easier to see with the H chart. Okay, so first, let's find the x-intercept. When you're finding the x-intercept, what has to equal 0? Y has to equal 0. Y is going to equal 0. So in this problem, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put 0 in for Y. Five times 0 is 0, so you get 3x equals 15. Divide by 3, x is 5. So the x-intercept is 5, 0. Then to find the y-intercept, what's going to be 0? X is going to be 0. Guys, a lot of people get this mixed up. So X is going to be 0 this time. So we're going to go 3 times 0 plus 5y equals 15. All I'm doing is rewriting my equation with 0 in for X. I'm substituting 0 in for X. And so 5y equals 15. Divide by 5, y is 3. And really, sometimes some people would rather do this than go, because when it's in this form right here, you have to go change it into y equals to graph it on the calculator. So you would have to go do this method over here and go change it to y equals to be able to graph it on the calculator. But sometimes some people would rather just do this. So you need to know both ways. So now the x-intercept is 5, 0. Go over 5, 0. And then 0, 3. Connect your points. It should be the exact same line because it's the exact same equation. The slopes should be the same. And we're about to check out to see if they are. Okay, we're going to go over how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's -5. Up 3. Is that what the slope is over there on that one? -3/5. And what's our B, our y-intercept? Where's it cross the y-intercept? At 3. So guys, listen. We need to be able to look at the graph and write the equation in slope-intercept form. So if we're looking at this, all we got to do is y equals find our slope, find our y-intercept. You have to do all this interchanging. You have to be able to look at the graph and write it. You have to have the equation and be able to graph it. You have to have the x and y intercepts and be able to graph it. 2 points and graph it to find the slope. So there's several things we got to be able to do. Okay, are there any questions on that?